links. Join the channel, become a member here over at Subscribe. I got a mailbox if you want to send me some comics or whatever is cool. Somebody sent me a little flashlight combination cigarette lighter, which seems to me like it's a very dangerous. Kind of makes me nervous, but I keep in my pocket the whole time. It comes in handy. So I think that was Vega. Thanks for that. It's weird, it's these kind of like weirdo things that you don't think you need, like a tiny little pocket knife, like with a 1-inch blade, and I go, oh, I actually use that all the time now. So it's not hard to scroll through CBR type magazines and see something extraordinarily stupid. I saw this picture first before the title, and I know, like, if you're some soy boy listening to this, I say, like, the picture tells you everything that's going to be in the article, except it really does. You see the picture, and I knew that I had struck stupid gold. The starting image is a plain-looking woman with short hair in a long jacket with the tails floating out to look like a cape, which is a pretty standard image. But that's the thing with everything else in the magazine, in this comic, is it's a really standard derivative, been done before, like since the 80s, in this kind of style. And unfortunately it's 2023. So having a throwback to this, but using a Pox character, and she's not like a sex pot character. So I look at this and go, like, so what are you bringing to the table with this character? And they never expect any, because I want to know where the milkers are, where's the sex appeal. And they don't expect people to honestly ask these kind of questions because it's not politically correct to ask them, but milkers are always on my mind. Sex appeal is very important in comics. There's a fine line. You don't go over the top. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, so why is this image so stupid? And there's a lot of stupid images that we're going to have to get through every single one of them. It's a tough call here between her ethnicity that doesn't fit the comic or lack of jugs, because each design element sends a different... It has a different symbol and it tells a different story, where one could conceive... You could have a woman like her if she was a Halle Berry type with, boobs just hanging out and that kind of stuff, cheesecake type of stuff, where she was obviously trying to appeal to the audience and have a lot of fun with it, do a Uma Thurman type of thing. But that's not what you get here. The present comic, that's why I saw this thing, I thought, holy shit, they're still making comics this damn bad. Like, yes, they are. And there's this long article where these two people just blow smoke up each other's tailpipes, the whole article about a comic that nobody is going to buy. So the present combination is the worst of everything combined, because any jugs she might have are covered up by the coat. Plus, her ethnicity is going to be designed for a very narrow Venn diagram. All right, he does the black and whites first. Let's get to the... Hey, how far did I have to scroll before I saw a scared, blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy who's probably stupid and incompetent and simultaneously cruel and malicious, where they plan these world-changing events, yet they're also incompetent and stupid. It's like, how does that make sense in clown world? It all makes sense. Which all this kind of stuff sounds weird, but let me explain one of the reasons when people see Pox in comics, POCs, or movies, that they instantly lose interest, at least nowadays, because they know it's going to be written by these cringe idiots, so that blonde will be bad or incompetent. And like I said, I only had to scroll down a couple of paragraphs before I got to the blonde character being stupid, and Pox will be the purse puppy Mary Sue, because they always are. There's no alternative possibility that a woke Pox anti-white writer, such as one of the writers of this, is able to make a Pox Walks woman with any depth or nuance. It's just not possible. He'd get canceled on social media. Yikes, my guy. Bad take. They have a word for it. It's not just misogyny. It's like noir misogyny, because they're just kind of throwing everything on the table. So back to the when you look at them, you go like, wait a minute, you really don't want like fleshed out characters to have faults as well as positives. You just want all positives. You just want all diamond characters. That's not a multifaceted character when you're only presenting one brilliant facet. They gotta have strengths and weaknesses, and they look at you like, no, a Shuri character for Wakanda can't have any weaknesses. Her weakness is she tries too hard, or she loves too much, or she gives too much of her. You get the idea. It's like, but that makes a very predictable character, and predictable characters are boring. And they look at you like, yeah, but we were never going to really pay attention to the movie anyway. We're just going to eat popcorn and watch moving images. and that's why Black Panther made over $1 billion. So what do we got? So back to that image is you got a pox, short-haired, no milkers, and what looks like a katana, which is the sign of a very bad writer or a teenager, which is occasionally the same thing. The image says that a black design team is stealing Japanese design elements to tell their story instead of just telling his own story. I guess strikes these people as terrifying, unless maybe he thought he was a ninja in a former life or something. So the image says he thinks it's 1990 and the Japanese thing is cool. Kill Bill and Deadpool can pull off the katana, and that's about it. Oh, no, 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 you don't understand. We're going to put a pox-wax girl with a sword instead of a hot blonde like Uma Thurman in that movie. So it's marketed to college lesbians in Birkenstocks and vests who don't wear makeup. The population. So it's gonna. You're talking about like if you sold 4,000 copies, you'd be over the moon. Nobody wants to see women in combat, but it's like a movie. This thing will sell. Say it sells 1,200 copies or something ridiculous. But like Paramount will be looking at this like we're seriously exploring our options with this piece of garbage. Because it has a black chick with a short afro and a katana. It's like, yeah, good luck with that. Nobody wants to see women in combat. Like every day in Clown World, I just can't. Sometimes I just can't believe where we are. Nobody wants to see women in combat roles. The only exception is sexy ones, but sexy is not PC, so she looks like a skinny man. So what is the point of this story? Nobody is going to read it. The elements of the storyline don't matter without even reading them. I can tell you that it will be this magic ugly woman, and stupid or cruel and arrogant blonde people will not be able to tie their own shoes without this super competent pox woman to just kind of hold their hand through every... Here's the thing. It's like, are there super competent pox women out there? Yes. I've met. I know several. Yes, of course there are. Of course. Could I write them? You bet your ass I could. They can't write them. You're saying the black guy who wrote this can't write a black character? Yes, that's right. And I could. Some far right Hugo Boss type. Yes, absolutely. With absolute respect, and it would be a fun story, little, some nuance to the character, but yeah, it would be better than this guy's writing because it wouldn't be a perfect. She would need to rely on other people for help. That would just be some small design elements. You'd make her a little bit more attractive. You give her a little bit more boobs. She wouldn't feel the need to cover up every single shot. Like there's no butt shots, there's no boob shots. No. We're gonna throw some. It's not gonna be prawn, but it's gonna be like comics of the '80s where there are boobs and butts and shots, and she's got to rely on other people for help, and she's got to go to other people for advice and have them be part of the story. And you look at the left-wing kids with that story idea. It's like, yeah, that's how you tell a nuanced, complicated story. And it brings everyone in the story where the sidekick has to do something important. Sidekicks are you know what is great is Sherlock Holmes is actually a really good story by Doyle. Because the sidekick in that story is super intelligent and competent. He's a doctor. He's always got his weird revolver. He's got some kind of weird revolver that it's got like the regular revolver, but then there's like a single, birdshot double barrel underneath it or something weird. But the doctor himself is an asset, and he's constantly doing things. He's constantly helping solve the mysteries. They're doing it together. It's the main guy, Holmes himself. He's doing most of it, but it's like the doctor's there for a reason. He's not there just to be an idiot, and like he is portrayed in the movies, but in the books, he's an asset. And he's a medical doctor. He's not an idiot. Of course, he's bringing his analytical mind to the table. It's like, yeah, no, very few people are going to be as obsessed as Sherlock Holmes, but the books are completely different than the movies. And you look at a lot of these people who are writing these kind of, what do you mean these people? I mean idiots. I mean the idiots in the mainstream who are writing these things. And you go, okay, so I know you've read Sherlock Holmes and H.G. Wells and Jules Verne and Henry Rider Haggard and all these classic adventure stories. Like, it's funny, Henry Rider Haggard. I was actually on vacation in the hospital for way too long, and I was rereading Haggard's stories, and there are scenes in there that are word for word and scene for scene in Star Wars, obviously in Indiana Jones, and in several other books. It's just in movies throughout history. The scene where there's like a floor that opens up into a fire pit, and the people. It's bizarre. Some of the scenes are just taken and they just go right to Star Wars or George Lucas, and it's like you know where he was getting. If you read Henry Rider Haggard's books, which he wrote hundreds of them, and they're 90% of them are friggin' brilliant. You see where Hollywood got so many scenes, like literally just picked up. And but the thing is, it's not even ripping it off because the scenes are taken so closely that it's like, yeah, obviously it was influenced by Haggard. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. So you, what do you got with this kind of stuff? Is like, well, you have evil blonde people are in the synopsis of the story is evil blonde people are in charge of the planet, and the the POCs have to team up to kill them. I mean, to stop them. Which, as it works out here, it means beheading them with a katana, which is magic too, like 14-year-old boys or modern writers at Marvel, DC, Image, and Dark Knight. Because, in terms of who can set up a functioning society, by all means, let's decapitate the people who can do it. That's how they legitimately feel, because they really are that dumb. No, you understand. Once we get rid of all the European people, we'll just have like this peaceful place where we can just kind of chill. Oh, like Canadian healthcare or something. I was talking to some girl about Canadian healthcare. I was making a joke, and she goes, oh yeah, like socialized medicine. It sounds great. I go, they're killing people up there? What are you talking about? I go, MAID. It's like a medical assistance in dying. And I started to go through the stories of it. Because you go, somebody's got pancreatic cancer. That's fine. I'd want that for myself. No problem. I go, no. They're actually signing off for depressed teenagers or homeless people or people who are losing their homes. And they have, instead of the society like taking care of veterans and taking care of the actual Canadian people, no. They're passing them off to MAID and just deleting them. She looks at me like I'm kidding. I go, no, please. I red pill people everywhere I possibly can. Anyway, yeah. They think that like if they delete European people, they're going to have a functioning. It says, hey, look, the symbolism of the pox woman deleting the fair-skinned person, using a Japanese sword and wearing Western clothes. So everything that she's using, someone else created. And when you get rid of those people, what then? Nobody ever asked that question. Anyway, I think I'm still high off the fentanyl the doctor gave. It's just a micro doses of fentanyl. Like, by all means, please drug me more. So the line that caught my attention in this story and that took me down the path into developmentally disabled village is the writer mentions the adage "write what you know," which obviously is good advice. But unfortunately, he's a purse puppy affirmative action Mary Sue himself, and he massively overvalues his own talent. The only reason he got so many shots was because he's a left-wing anti-white POC who will write the party line and actually thinks that he's breaking new ground. No, dude, you don't understand. You don't get it. Imagine Kill Bill, but 30 years later with a sexless black woman with short hair. So you don't even have the attraction of Uma Thurman. They will message board these Mary Sue level stupid ideas, and everyone around them will just agree it's brilliant because the source of the idea is a POC, and everyone knows the company will just subsidize it. It doesn't have to sell. It has no expectations, and realistically, it never does. But it says in his brilliance that you don't have to write what you know. Write what you're passionate about. Well, that's a recipe for disaster because it's quickly apparent that this story is going to be nerfed crap. You see it in all of mainstream Hollywood and all of mainstream comics. Yes, all of mainstream comics. The writer is bluffing his way through the story and he gets destroyed on important details. You see it all the time where the story doesn't make sense because the writer doesn't understand the actual motivations for why people do things or why, like the engineering, some design elements is the way it is, why old cars had certain features. They don't understand like why these things are different, or that like the shooting out the rudder in an airplane that has no effect on it when it's in flight. I mean, maybe for trimming it up slightly, but it doesn't make the plane go out of control. It's for steering on the ground, obviously. It's like, like a child could see. They did that in Indiana Jones movie. It was really dumb. Anyway, so Hollywood and comics, they do this all the time, and it's all crap. You're instantly aware of it. It's the Gilligan Island level of verisimilitude. Yeah, by showing the black and white first and then the color, it doesn't make it any better. I mean, this is so unbelievably stupid. Hey, look, angry, fair-skinned people, and at least two of them are visibly blonde. Even the dark-haired guy's got either blue or gray eyes. So the combination that works is write what you know, and in some way are passionate about, which might seem redundant. if you know so much about horse racing, at one time you were passionate about it, which worked out very well for Dick Francis and his books. I've read all his books, and I finally had to give them away because I was running out of bookshelf space. Thanks to everyone who's been sending comic books. They helped quite a bit. So Dick Francis is a master in his field. Nobody at Image, Marvel, DC, Dark Horse can say the same. Nobody there can even come close to Dick Francis, who writes mostly about horses, horse racing, and what that field. To kind of I guess detective stories, and it's just in that setting, and it works amazingly well. So these woke types, they do these interviews, and their lack of self-awareness is staggering. They usually have low numbers because their stuff is for illiterate alcoholics or lesbian college girls, which is probably the same thing. I don't think they'll learn a whole lot of reading. No, you can't. We can't read those old dead Englishmen. Oh, those guys who wrote the classics that are timeless. No, yeah, we have to read this flash in the pan that came 10 or 20 years ago, that will probably be forgotten in 40 years. Yeah, by all means, read that instead of Herman Melville or I almost said Harrison Ford, Mark Twain. Anyway, so they have this overblown, pompous sense of self-importance. You see how long this whole article, they're just blowing smoke up each other. It's up each other's skirts. It's embarrassing because you go, so this book comes out in a few months. So somebody remind me, I know it's never going to happen, of how many issues this thing sells if you can find a way to track the numbers. It's going to be non-existent. It's this long interview about how great this guy is. Like, he only says that because he's been a purse puppy his whole life. He's been in an echo chamber. He doesn't have to sell big numbers. It's like you see it with the people at Marvel and DC. Those the Vita Ala, the characters that what's his face, Zach talks about all the time. I haven't seen his videos in months. I binge his videos like every few months. He talks about all these kind of characters. You get chance after chance, and you see what they come up with, and it's just crap. And I'm a Marvel writer. Like, yeah, sort of. I'm a YouTuber. That's like saying I'm a YouTuber. So you made like $2 a day on YouTube? Yeah, I'm a YouTuber. That makes me a YouTuber, right? Occasionally. Yeah, it's like a buck a video or something. Yeah, I'm a YouTuber. It's like, no, you're not. I mean, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just some asshole who's essentially doing it. Actually, really paying to do it if you look at the money. It's like, but so is Vita Ala. It's like, but a company is subsidizing her to pay her, and unfortunately, well, every once in a while, people subsidize me with free comic books is what really makes it all worthwhile. Am I shilling for free comic books? Yes, I am, and I don't feel bad about that because I just don't, because I like free comic books. Thanks to Cecil for Cash Grab and all the covers. That was amazing. The Hobbit from Vagan. The Hobbit is probably the nicest comic, the best, most well put together comic. And then LG sent me that Batman, which is funny. It's like I see. I just made. I'm gonna have to think of a specific book and just keep begging for it until somebody gives in and gives me the book, because that Batman is just so beautifully. If you haven't, it's The Dark Knight Returns. I think it's 1986. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's just such a mood. You get in this mood of the 80s, and I guess you gotta kind of have to been old enough to live through the Cold War and like duck and cover, kids. You're thinking like, oh yeah, it'll stop the glass. You're in the Bay Area, right? Duck and cover, kids. Fair enough. It will stop the. You're under the table. You don't want to get cut by glass. Fair enough. But the plutonium rain of 20,000 degrees. Yeah. If you're in San Francisco or somewhere in like the critical infrastructure Bay Area where an air burst, it's like, okay, yeah, duck and cover it. That's fine. I kind of like just opened the window and just faced the blast at that point, at least in the 80s. We actually, like, I think some of us actually got PTSD from the 80s, thinking we were going to die watching the movies they let us watch in the 80s about nuclear annihilation. But what's that book, On the Beach? I read that book. It's like, no way as kids should we have been exposed to that. Unbelievable. I'm gonna do a video on Subscribestar about that, like how that led to low birth rates for a certain percentage of the community, because you felt like no, it was ozone layer, the future is hopeless. It's like, oh, and then you look back now as an adult, back in the 80s, the movies they watched and the narrative the media ran with about annihilation to scare kids and think there's no future. You couldn't possibly bring a kid into this world, and there's still people in their 40s and 50s and above who have that mentality, and it's like what they did was a war crime, and eventually it's going to come out, and people are going people are going to have a new, deeper sense of understanding. We're going to put those They Live sunglasses on every single motherfucker that we can. I don't know where I was going with this. I wasn't kidding about the fent for the procedure. I was on, as I said, on vacation for way too long. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next episode.